Alright, so this is 5 mangas I would recommend reading. So with that being said, let's just roll the intro.
Treat a bad bitch like she average. I'm a savage, little hoe, what you want do? I'm about cash if the raw fast. I'ma get that little nigga by any means.
Alright, so for this kind of list, this isn't like the top 10 kind of, mangas or anything like that. These are just mangas that I enjoy reading that I think you guys would also enjoy. I'm also not gonna when I talk about these mangas, a lot of them aren't technically mangas because they are from other countries like China and Korea. So technically they're called something else. I think they're called like manga, or no, at least that's for Korean. I don't know the Chinese what they're called for if they're from China. But basically, just for the sake of this video, I'm gonna refer to all the things on this list as manga, even though technically they're not, just to make it easier and to make it more, simple, I guess. So what I picked out for this list, like I said before, it isn't like the top 10, mangas. They're just stuff I like to read, and I wanted to, highlight a few of these because I don't think they get enough attention, and I think they're pretty good. So I'm not gonna cover really well-known mangas or really popular ones that are out right now. So basically, yeah, so I'm not going to talk about something about solo leveling because if you're in this kind of like community about what ifs, you already know what that is because so many people have done what ifs about it. I'm also not going to talk about really that many, mainstream kind of mangas, like something like My Hero, those like Shonen Jump kind of mangas, but just things that are like slowly picking up and things like that. So for our first one, I'm going to talk about the one that I've already talked about the most already, and that's actually going to be Kaguyasama Loves War. I believe the manga version is called Kaguyasama Wants to Be Confessed To or something like that. But yeah, if you already seen my video about my thoughts on the series as a whole, then you could go watch that if you haven't. But it's like a almost 30-minute video where I talk about everything I really like about it and give it a score. But for those who are not going to watch it and don't want to, this also had an anime back earlier this year, so you could go and watch that, called Kaguyasama Loves War. But yeah, I believe that this series has really good artwork, it has very good storytelling, and the premise itself is pretty funny, just like the writing. It's basically about this girl named Kaguya and this other guy who is the student council president, I believe, named Miyuki, I think. And both of them want the other to confess, and they both have feelings for each other, just that their pride gets in the way, and they don't want to do it. So, you might think like, wow, that's a pretty, simple premise. How could they really advance on that? But, they actually do. It's already run like around over 160 chapters at this point, and they are actually kind of fresh. They have a lot of fresh ideas. It's one of those mangas that actually have a cohesive, it has like a story that has continuity to it. Things that happen in like other chapters continue, and it's not like episodic where everything gets restarted at the end, because there is progress between all the characters, especially the main character Kaguya and the secondary or the main male lead Miyuki. So yeah, if you are interested in that kind of rom-com kind of dynamic, you could either read the manga, like I said, or you could you could watch the anime and then go where it leaves off in the manga and continue that. Like I said, there's over 160 chapters, so yeah, there's actual progression and the characters actually grow. There's a lot of character development throughout the series. So yeah, and the artwork is pretty, good for what it does. So yeah, for our fourth entry, I'm actually going to talk about Goblin Slayer Year 1. So this is a spin-off manga, or a spin-off story to Goblin Slayer, the manga and anime. So this story actually takes place 5 5 years before the start of the anime, and it's basically talking about the first year of Goblin Slayer as an adventurer. So we get to see his progression and how he becomes how he is today, and how he gets to learn about so much about goblins, and we get to see into his past more than we do in the beginning of the anime. So I put this on the list because it is really good. I really like Goblin Slayer, and I'm going to talk more about the franchise as a whole when I do my thoughts on video on Goblin Slayer. But what I could tell you about this, like, a lot of people say it's boring, but even if you think it's boring, I think you should still read it just for the artwork. The artwork in Goblin Slayer is really good. Basically, it is a dark fantasy, right? So a lot of the characters are really underpowered compared to, even mid-tier kind of enemies. So there always is that tension of, will this character survive or not, even though they're going against things that are seemingly weak like goblins. So there is that kind of tension, but we know the MC is not going to die because it is year one and not, the actual main storyline. But we get to see why things the way they are, how they got to that point, how his helmet is the way it is now, how he met certain characters, and why he gets the reputation that he does in the anime, which is they think he's crazy. We get to learn how he figured out all the stuff that he knows about goblins. We get to see some of his training they did, and yeah, I think it's an amazing series that has a lot of good potential, and it has a lot of good artwork. So if you're interested in a dark fantasy kind of story, you can go and read it. There isn't too many chapters to this. I believe there's around 30 or 40 between those two. I forgot. But yeah, if you were really into fantasy kind of dark fantasy novels, or not novels, manga, then I would recommend it. It's kind of like or the reverse of Overlord, where instead of a very overpowered character and still having that dark fantasy vibe, it's a very average character and trying to survive in a very powerful kind of world. So yeah, if you really like those type of stories, I would recommend it. Alright, so for our third entry in this kind of recommendation, this is the newest out of all of them, and it is something that's actually airing at this point in time, and it's actually called Welcome to Demon School, Iruma-kun, which is basically the newest. It's a new anime coming out. It's very similar to this other anime that came out called, I think it's called Vampire and Rosary, or I forgot the actual name, but it's something to that effect. And it's basically, the premise is that a boy, or a kid, the age of 14, basically gets sold. His soul gets sold, or his parents sell his soul to a devil or a demon, and he gets to live with that demon as his grandson, and he goes to a demon school, and he's basically trying to survive and thrive in that new environment, basically. So I guess this is the most mainstream out of all of them, since it is currently airing at this point. So yeah, it's a comedy based anime. There isn't really fan service that much. There's like maybe a few panels here and there, but it feels like a early 2000s kind of anime, something like from the theme song to how it just feels. It does have some good artwork here and there, but it is a more cartoony kind of style, and it goes off model a lot for the sake of comedy and things like that. But I think it's a pretty good read. There isn't that many chapters translated at this point. There's only around 60, and you get to see like a character, actually progress, right? You think he's gonna be this kind of weak kind of character throughout the entire series, but there's a point in the series where he actually starts trying and actually gets stronger. So if you like those kind of animes where they have a ranking system for the students, and your main character is put in a lower kind of position, but in most animes, when they have that kind of concept, it's usually unfair to the character because he's usually a lot stronger than they say he is, but he is only low because of situations out of his control. So yeah, but instead, Inama-kun actually deserves, being kind of the lowest spot, because he is a human competing with demons. But you actually get to see that kind of progression. He doesn't just stay like a scaredy cat, or a, you know what I mean. He doesn't stay like a coward throughout the series. He actually grows as a character and becomes stronger. And the way that he gets stronger is very realistic, or it makes sense for his character, right? It's not like a Deus Ex Machina where he instantly becomes stronger or anything like that. He is a character that a lot of people can relate to, since he's a person that can't really say no to people when they give him requests. So that's why I really like this series, and I think you guys should read it. I think it's a pretty good series, and I would recommend watching the anime as well. Even though the anime is, barely starting, I think you could watch it, and the actual opening is really catchy. So yeah, I think Inama-kun is one of the kind of better animes are out right now, since there is a lot of, I guess, mediocre anime out at this time, because there is a lot of isekais, and a lot of people, sometimes they could be good, sometimes not really. But yeah, if you really like, this kind of idea of being having that constant kind of thrill or suspense about being in a place you shouldn't be, I think you should pick this one up. So yeah. Alright, for our number 2 entry, or I guess the not number 2, you know what I mean, second place. So our 4th entry, I guess. So in this one, I'm gonna talk about Versatile Mage, and this actually has an anime of its own, but it is a Chinese anime, and it doesn't go by the name Versatile Mage. It actually goes by the name Full-Time Magister, and yeah, it actually has 2 seasons of this, which is the only one on this list that actually has 2 seasons out. Kaguyasama does have a 2nd season, but it hasn't come out yet. It's coming out next year, I believe. So yeah, it is a Chinese anime, and that might put people off from it, because a lot of people don't like how Chinese sounds when they watch anime, because it is different than you're expecting. Like, you're expecting Japanese when it's Chinese. And from my knowledge, or not my knowledge, my experience, Chinese is a little bit faster than Japanese, so the subtitles go faster, so that might bother some people. But yeah, I think this is a really good, anime and manga. Basically, the main character, Malfan, buys this necklace from this man, and the next day he wakes up in a world where it's his own world, but instead of science, there is magic. And it's as if he woke up in an alternate universe where magic was a thing. So he has to take a test, and it goes over years of magic history and stuff like that, or not history, but you know what I mean, study and things like that. So he fails, obviously, because he only had 3 months to learn years of knowledge, and people think he's weak. It's one of those animes where they think he's weak, but he actually has a lot of potential, and the necklace gives him double XP basically. So, oh yeah, and in this, it's one of those animes where he is overpowered against normal people, against people or humans, but against monsters, he's not really that overpowered. The monsters are a lot stronger than the people in this. It is a tragedy storyline. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but it is tagged by tragedy. So yeah, if you like the kind of concept of a person kind of unlocking and kind of fighting against the system, because he is treated differently because of his social status, because he is from a poor family, and he has to fight the kind of hierarchy that comes with that. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I would recommend it. Plus, it is a what's it called? It is a Chinese manga, so it is in full color. So you don't have it's a better experience, or it gives more to the artwork, I guess. And the artwork is pretty good in general. but it does look a little bit different from the anime. So I guess you could watch the anime and then go into the manga, or you could go over the manga and go into the anime. But I think both of them are pretty good. So yeah, like I said, it is a magic-based anime, and the progression of the character gets pretty extreme near the after the anime, I guess. But yeah, I think it's a good one to pick up, and not a lot of people even talk about this kind of anime or manga, so I would recommend that. So this, well, we like go on to our number 1 spot, or our 5th entry, and this one is the one I think is pretty underrated in terms of like people talking about it. I think it should be like no one really talks about it. I don't know why, but this is actually going to be Hero ? I quit a long time ago, and this is one of the anime, or one of the kind of mangas that I first started reading when I first got into mangas, and it is really good, right? A lot of people think that it is a copy of One Punch Man, but it really isn't. And I'll explain I'll tell by the synopsis first. I'll tell you guys that. So basically, I'm gonna paraphrase it because I don't know it by heart and I didn't write it down. So basically, there was this person named Zero, and he was humanity's first hero. And because of that, other heroes, came after his wake, and one day he just disappears. And then 5 years later, that's when the story starts, and we actually follow someone named Jin Quinn, or not Quinn, Jin G, I think that's how you pronounce his name. But yeah, he is basically Zero, and he went into hiding, or he just left that kind of life behind because of the things he did as Zero. Even though he was a hero, he was the number 1 hero, everyone loved him, but he couldn't live that life anymore because of the things he did. So yeah, so he gets back into the hero business because he's been living off his sister, and she tells him to get a job. So he gets back into hero business, but he doesn't go under the name Zero. He actually goes under the name of his own name, and that's kind of it. Or I think it's called like something like Soldier, like I don't know. Basically, it's like a commentary about how he's like a disposable like soldier or something like that. But yeah. So the reason why people compare this to One Punch Man a lot is because he is a very overpowered character, and there is a lot of similarities in the fact that there is a Heroes Association that has rankings from triple S to F, while One Punch Man has the S to D. So yeah, but there is a major difference. I guess the biggest one would be personality. They're both kind of laid back, but Saitama is kind of depressed because he can't find someone as strong as him, and he can't have a satisfying fight. While Jin is laid back, but he also doesn't really care about that kind of fighting. He genuinely cares about, saving people and being a hero, but he quit that life because of the things that he did. He regrets some of his actions, because I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, he does some things that are questionable, and if he knew prior knowledge, he probably wouldn't make the same, things that he did. And major big thing is that Saitama really kind of until the later seasons he acts alone, or he acts alone until like second season, where he gets a group and he has generals, while Jin actually has a team of his own, that kind of friend group that he actually hangs out with. And there's even like a point where Jin actually, there's a lot of story arcs, and he actually becomes like a teacher and actually tries to train the newer generations and things like that, while Saitama just kind of stays the kind of same person he is throughout the kind of story, because there isn't that too many arcs in One Punch Man at this point, even though there's over like 100 chapters. But yeah, I think this is one of the most underrated kind of mangas out there, because no one talks about it. And his fighting style is a lot different from Saitama. Saitama only punches and it's over in one hit, while Jin actually does a lot of different variations of his fighting style, and he uses weapons. And there's magic in this story, while there is no magic in One Punch Man really, and things like that. And like the humor's a lot different. Like there'll be like a scene in One Punch Man where Saitama, even though he's so strong, he can't really what's it called? He can't even like hit a fly. While in Hero, it's actually a lot different. They'll be like, oh, it's funny because he's very lazy and doesn't want to do anything, and things like that. Or he'll try to give people advice, but it'll just be something really dumb. But he's seen as a like really good role model and things like that. So this manga is actually getting a movie soon. I believe it was a movie. I'll put a link down in the description if I remember to. It's basically a trailer to it. And yeah, if you really like something like One Punch Man, I think you'll like this. Because unlike One Punch Man, every person who is a hero in this actually has some sort of power or martial arts. While in One Punch Man, the lower ranks are just like normal people who might be like, kind of strong for like a normal person, right? So it does feel like it is, a superhero kind of universe, right? Because these are superheroes, right? Even, main character Jin actually has a few different powers and different martial arts styles. Since a lot of times Chinese mangas have like a lot of different fighting styles and magic, it's also present in Hero. So yeah, I'm not gonna spoil too much, but there is around I think 150 chapters, I think, translated at this point. I don't remember exactly, but it's over 100. Actually, wait, I think there's 111 at this point, 111 or 12. So yeah, there is a few chapters out there. It is a Chinese manga, so it is in full color if you want to, know that. So yeah, this is the one I would definitely recommend you watching, or not watching, reading, because I think it is pretty good, and the art style is reminiscent of a lot of comics, or Western type of comics, I would think. So yeah, with that being said, this is going to be the end of the video. I might do a second part to this video, or I might even do an anime version of this where I recommend like different animes that I watched, or even animes that are like one season kind of shows, and discuss if they deserve a second season. So with that being said, it's gonna be the end of the video. So yeah,